I want it. I got over that. I was like, okay,
Serena's inner child was throwing a little temper tantrum at that moment, I think is safe to say. Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yep. Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
how to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, sign up for more support with meeting your needs with your weekly Universal Needs Notes at theuniversalneeds.com.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
So if you are listening to us on the day that this episode releases, and if you celebrate it,
Merry Christmas!
Because this episode is actually releasing on Christmas Day. If you don't celebrate it, or you're not listening on that day, or if you don't celebrate it and you are listening the day it drops, Happy Monday!
Happy Monday!
And if you're listening at some other random time, happy whatever day you have. Like we didn't feel right, like not acknowledging the day that this was releasing on, but we also know there's lots of people that don't celebrate that day or might be listening at different times.
Mm-hmm. It's August right now when we're recording.
Right.
So
it always feels a little bit weird. Having like as you know, like we are in the process of currently kind of batch recording to give ourselves breathing space for the other projects that we have. I hope that we are now, we say this every time we batch record. I hope we're going to switch into doing it more regularly. And also we are still planning on doing the pop-up podcasts, which are going to be live, which will be obviously a little bit more time relevant because they're happening at the time that they're being recorded at the time you're actually going to hear them. So yeah, at least obviously we don't have any decorations up, but it is kind of a bit weird when you end up seeing decoration episodes appearing in like March or April, which has happened in the past. So yeah, but we are not talking about any of that today. In fact, if you are watching on the video on YouTube, on TikTok or whatever, you might see something a little bit different.
It's my coffee cup. For those that aren't, people are like, people just listening are like are they going to say it?
Yeah. And it is her. She's actually using my coffee cup today. My special little Turtle Hospital coffee mug.
Little shout out there.
Little shout out to the Turtle Hospital up in Marathon. They do some really great work with the local sea life and marine life. And the reason is because we haven't got our mugs designed and created yet, although we did have a good little design meeting, like literally just as we were about to record. We were like, oh, which side do we want this on and which side do we want that on? I really want us to get those done because I just just for ourselves, so that we can have them on the podcast. Like I'm gonna have to switch up my kombucha and put it in a glass at this rate, or a mug, or
koozies.
They have kombucha koozies.
It's like my little coffee koozie that I keep my iced coffees in, so they don't.
I got a feeling there's a few things that are coming on our little merch, but
this is a rabbit hole.
And again, we're not talking about merch today because like it's not available. Like we haven't got it ourselves, let alone to give to anybody else. So yes, why do you have a different coffee mug today, Serena? Because I think that's really the essence of this entire episode.
My coffee mug.
No, it's not about the coffee mug. Why she has the coffee mug is the reason we're doing today's episode. It's going to be a fun one today. I can feel it.
This is technically like a small in my world of coffee. So,
and the funny thing is, I bought that mug because I wanted a large mug, and it's still probably not as large as I would ideally choose, but it's bigger than your average coffee mug by quite a significant amount.
It is a decent bit of coffee.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the topic leading into the topic, which.
The story of how we got here.
Yes. I went usually on podcasting because I'm usually an everyday coffee drinker, but I am not an everyday kind of treat myself coffee drinker. Mm-hmm. When we do the podcasting batches, that is a time that I allow myself to. It gives me a little bit of an extra boost. It's something that makes me feel good. Like, it gives me a little happy dance before I start recording, and, you know, like...
Yeah, I don't necessarily drink kombucha every day, but that I make sure I have a bottle or two available for podcasting days for exactly the same reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get a little something from it.
Yeah.
So I went to go order this morning. My app, which I use every day that I ordered, like, pretty simple.
I said,
nope. And
you can't order coffee today, basically.
First they told me you don't have any money. So I'm like, okay, I can fix that. So
Fine.
I put my money in, and then, like, nope, still don't get to order coffee. I'm like, what the fuck? However, when the universe stops me from doing something and stops me multiple times, I tend to listen at this point. I'm like, apparently I'm not meant to have coffee. What the fucking in my head? I'm like, okay. I'm pissed. I mean, like, I'm like giving the universe side eye. I'm like, I don't know why. Like,
yeah.
I mean, when I get myself, like, riled up for coffee, I'm like, I want it. I got over that. I was like, okay,
Serena's inner child was throwing a little temper tantrum at that moment, I think is safe to say. Oh.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
She wasn't happy. So I was like, I'm going to get some errands done this morning instead. So one of my other favorite places on the island, UPS, doing some returns, I was walking in, and I don't just do a return. I tend to stockpile them so that when I go in, they're like, oh, shit, here she comes again. I've talked about them before. Like, I try to give them little treats, and I'm always like,
do you want a coffee? Like,
I'm always trying to be super.
Unfortunately, she couldn't buy coffee this morning, so that wasn't an option.
Probably the one morning. So as I'm walking up, there's an older gentleman sitting outside of a cafe that's right next door, and he's like, ma'am. I'm like, it's early in the morning. I haven't had my coffee, and I'm like, yeah. But I'm like, all right, I'm going to engage with him. And he has this little bag of cough drops, and he's like, I don't know. They make these childproof things too childproof. Like, I can't get into it. And so I grab it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I have trouble with this stuff all the time, and just go to rip it. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I'm like, all right. So meanwhile, I have, like, 2 boxes in my hands. I have a huge bag. I have a huge bag around my arm. I'm like, let me drop this stuff inside. I'm going to grab you some scissors. I'm going to open up your cough drops. And I'm going to give them back to you. And he's like, okay. So I take the cough drops. I go inside. The people in UPS know me, and they're like, come up. And I was like, actually, first, I need to open these cough drops. And one of the younger gentlemen that worked there, he grabbed them for me. He's like, oh, yeah. Like, a little bit cockier than I did. And he was like,
but same kind of energy. I'm like, just hand them over.
I got it. And so he tried. And I'm like, looking at, I kind of get into this, that young whippersnapper couldn't do it. And like, I feel like the layers of, because you think like, oh, maybe it's me. Like, maybe I'm not strong enough doing it right. Maybe there's like a little latch now that they put in that I'm not aware of because I don't watch the TikToks. Like, so he takes
That's my job. That's my job. I watch the TikToks.
So he takes a box knife to it. We get it open. He's like, I created a little notch here so the guy could get into it because it's really hard to open, which I was like, wow, he went that little extra step to make it easy for this gentleman. Like, and that just, like, he didn't have to do any of it. And then he went and made it easier. So I went back out, handed the gentleman his cough drops, and it was like, here you go. There's a little notch there, so just put your finger in it. And he's like, thank you so much. He's like, you're a good person. And I was like...
He was like, this is your good deed for the day, right?
This is your good deed for the day. And I was like, okay. I was like, thank you very much for asking me to do this, because I was happy to do it for you. And he looked at me like, huh? And he's like, okay. I'm like, you have a great day, sir. And I went back in and I did my returns. And I was like, all right, it's not like a weird thing in my world, but it was a little odder for first thing in the morning.
It's a little different.
Yeah, it was a little different. And I was like, but it felt nice. I was like, I'm so glad that I was truly glad I was able to help him, because it didn't seem like he was going to go inside to get scissors. He may not have even known that was an option.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that took nothing out of my day. Nothing. Like 2 minutes, which I had to spare at that time. So I was happy to do it for him. So I still had a little time left, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to run over to the Dollar Tree, my next favorite place on the island. I was in my little
it's true.
My little triangle there. And so I went in, and as I walked in, I also know
your little triangle?
Triangle? my little triangle.
Oh, as in from UPS to where, like the locations.
Well, you UPS and then the triangle.
Right. Yeah.
Is the
Okay. I was like, it's kind of a square, that parking lot. Now I understand. Right.
It's
Okay.
like an obtuse triangle. The points that I went to.
I think I'm the one being obtuse right now. Carry on. Back to Dollar Tree.
So I went into Dollar Tree and I see the regular checkout people because I know them as well because I'm there all the time. And I like creating conversation, especially in places like supermarkets, the Dollar Tree, UPS, the post office, places where people are really getting slammed with just, this is your job. You're here to like
and they're
serve
probably
me.
dealing with a lot of shit in those places. Like, so like, and I think you and I both do this where it's like, if we can kind of engage in a way that's going to give them a little bit of respite from maybe the bullshit they're dealing with, then we'll try and do that because we like to connect with people. That's like, it's not just that, oh, let us help these people out. It's like, like we genuinely like to, and we like to make friends with the people in the places where we go and connect with them because we see them all the time. So and we do it at the grocery store. We do it at all the places that we
we walk into the grocery store now and like there's like 3 or 4 checkout people that are like,
wait,
hey,
like, hey, how you doing? Like, we'll stop and have a chat with them while we're checking out.
And it's, you can tell, no, like there's not many people engaging with them. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine an entire day at work where nobody's like acknowledging my presence besides paper or plastic.
And
like,
also I couldn't imagine like engaging with somebody and not engaging with them, you know, like as in like not treating them like a human being and like, hey, how's your day going? Like just not like, we're not getting into the deeper meaningful of the need stuff, but we are like, we're just like as we would with anybody anywhere that we go.
Yeah, that you see acquainted
on a regular basis.
It's weird if you see somebody all the time and you don't acknowledge them.
Yes.
Like that just that
and connect with them even in like a small way. Like and we get like if you're having a day like you don't have the capacity to, there's different, don't have the spoons for it, I understand, but
we don't always do it, and when we do it, it's with genuine. It's not like I need to feel good about myself and make them feel good about themselves. It's just
we like to connect with people.
It's kind of a natural thing.
Right.
So I walk into the dollar.
There's a reason that a lot of the, like the people who we like, Joe and what have you, like, you know, these people, like we make friends everywhere we go just because we genuinely connect with people.
Yeah. And I mean, they come up with the greatest stories. Like some of the random connections we've had have led to
like magic.
So
yeah.
So I walk in and I see that there's a line at the checkout, and I always just kind of look over to see who's at the checkout line because that usually determines which line I go into. And right as I walk in, there's a woman checking out, and there's a line behind her, and she goes, "Do you have hole punchers?" And the woman who is doing that was behind the cash register has a face like mine. She is super sweet. She's always like really polite, like even when she has the worst people that she's dealing with,
challenging situations.
She's always just kind of like, okay, you have a good day, but her face. She like there's these little like
if you know Serena by now, her face does not have a filter. Like it's like if she's thinking it, it's written all over her face. Yeah. And the same is true with this person who works in there.
Right. So she hears, "Do you have hole punchers?" Now this is a fucking Dollar Tree. Like, come on.
And there's sections in the Dollar Tree. There are like obvious areas where things are going to be and not be. And a lot of the time they don't have certain things because they've got them in, they've run out, and they haven't got another shipment in yet. Like you don't expect Dollar Tree to be stocked the way you would expect another store to be stocked.
Right. So I see the little bit of side eye, and she's trying really hard to control her face, and it's just I don't know if I'm more in tune to it, but I saw it right away. And then another worker came over, and they were talking in Spanish, so I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I could sense that it was like almost like, is this lady
there was an obvious frustration because like they're working, there's a queue of people behind them, and this woman has waited until she's at the front of the queue rather than going and asking somebody like, I can't find them, do you, like, am I looking in the right place? Like she's causing some challenges for them in their working day, and it's only just started.
Like, right. They've only been open for an hour at this point.
Yeah.
So as I'm walking, I was like, I know where they are. Let me check. And at first, nobody even acknowledged what I said. And I just kind of like, I was over by the door when I said it. And then I went over, I was like, you stay here. I've got this. I know exactly where it is. So I kind of scoot down the aisle really quickly, and I come back. I was like, no, they don't have any. And
Right.
I went, I scanned the aisle that I knew if they did, that's where they would be. And so the lady was like, yes. And I'm like, no, they don't have it. She goes, no, but yes, thank you for checking. And I'm like, you're welcome. And then I went about my shopping and left and came here. Again, I was killing time a little bit. It's the Dollar Tree. I don't need an excuse to wander around aimlessly with the Dollar Tree. So if I have like a destination in there, I'm happy to do it.
Right.
But at that point, I'm like, why would the lady need to leave the register to go look for something where like,
it's obvious where it's located in that
Right.
store. Like, it's not like it's, there are some things where like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if they have this. I don't know where it would be located. And I'll see if I can find a worker to go and ask. But like that one's a pretty obvious, especially in that store. Like it's really obvious where that's going to be or not.
And this was one of the rare times. There was about 4 workers on the floor as well as 2
Right.
behind the counter.
Yeah.
So like there really was an excuse. And the lady she was a fine person. Like I don't think she was even thinking about what she did. And that's kind of the problem. She wasn't considering anybody else, and I know there was a lot of privilege wrapped up in the dynamic.
There's a huge amount of entitlement of like, I can block everybody else from getting on with their day, and I can expect this person who is clearly assigned to this role to leave her role to go and find out whether they have something that I could have asked any one of another 4 people, or just actually checked there's
stationery
aisle. I mean, the only difference is I know recently they've had a back to school section, which is near the front, but you walk into that section, you almost have to walk through that section,
and that's gone now.
It's not there anymore.
Now,
exactly. So
like,
that's what I mean. It's like there may be a second section, but you're going to see that the second you walk through the door if it's there, and if it's not there, it's the stationery aisle or the stationery aisle. Like that's it.
Right.
So there is a huge amount of entitlement in what this woman was doing. And she was expecting to compromise and just like, let's just put a needs lens on this. She was expecting everybody else around hers needs to be compromised to get her needs met. She was expecting to delay the people behind her. She was expecting to inconvenience the person who she'd asked to go and whether they had hole punches. Like there was to prioritize what she needed, which is she wanted convenience. She wanted somebody else to do it for her, basically, rather than go and look, or for her to go and find the person who could help her, who is actually stationed in the store, not at the checkout. So like already there's a lot of need stuff going on in this dynamic already. And like, I know Serena didn't like, yes, she had somewhere to be. She was due to be here, but she was early. Like she didn't go, I mean, I've no idea. Which meant that she didn't like, it wasn't an issue for her. It wasn't going to make her late in order to go and do this.
And I want to say, I did not necessarily do it for the woman who wanted it.
Yes.
I did it for the cashier
Right.
and the people behind her. Yes, it did serve that woman because I saw it. I'm like, lady, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Right.
But it was everybody else. I'm like, I can make this a lot easier for
everyone else.
10 people.
Right.
Or I can just wander. Like, I'm going to wander back there.
Right.
Anyway.
And I'm going to have, and I mean, we've both been in that position where it's like, well, I've got 10 minutes. I'll have a wander around and see if there's anything new in here that I haven't seen because
$60 later.
Right. Happens more often than you would think.
Their crafting aisle.
Yeah.
God. Anyway, I will digress.
Yes.
So back to, this. So I do mine. I pick up a couple of odds and ends and then I check out. And I happen to be in the line of the cashier that I had assisted with that. And so she's super sweet again and checking out. And then as I'm leaving, she's like, thank you so much for checking on that for me. I was like, yeah, not a problem. I'm happy to help because I am. And I walked out. I didn't need anybody to say anything to me. I was just doing it to be a decent human because I felt inclined to and I wanted to.
Right.
So I get back and I'm like, I get to the final stop of my triangle, which is here. And I'm like, today has been so weird. I couldn't order my coffee. And like, I'm going through it and I'm like,
Well, no, what's really funny was like, because Serena starts telling me the story and obviously it starts with, I couldn't order my coffee. I was like, do you want a coffee?
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, well, like, and I could see that feeling of like, I don't need a coffee, but I kind of want, I was like, do you want a coffee? And she was like, yeah. So, and I'm like, I've got a Keurig. I was like, do you want milk? And she's like, I was like, do you want like coffee with milk or do you want it like latte style with like, and I could see again that like, well, I'm like, what do you want? And she was like, well, I want it latte style. I'm like, cool, no problem. So she's telling me the story. I'm making up this and I've got syrup and stuff and like
making good coffee.
I make a good coffee. Like, I mean, or dessert in a cup, which is basically what my coffee is. And I'm heating up the milk and everything. And then we had this conversation and there was a realization that came in the context of like Serena sharing with me everything that was going on. You want to share what your kind of realization was? Because it kind of started from what you realized about what you've been doing. Or do you not want to? Or do you not know exactly what I'm talking about?
I don't know exactly what you're talking about. I'm trying to like,
she's like, where's she going with this? Don't throw it to me. Don't throw. I don't know what she wants me to say.
I don't know what I said.
Yeah. Well, basically what Serena was saying was that in the course of her morning that she had been able to help multiple people with their needs, supporting them with their needs without any negative impact to herself. And it had felt really good to do that. Mm-hmm. Now, the thing about it is that, and we're going to get into the shapes episode, it is in the schedule. Like, I promise it is coming. Like, I literally wrote it down this morning in 2 different places. It is coming, I promise. The thing is that what she did was she supported them with meeting their needs, because she didn't look at them and go, oh, look at this poor person, I have to do this for them, they can't do it for themselves. The guy with the cough drops, he would have figured it out eventually. He would have either gone home and got some scissors, or he would have
torn it open with his teeth,
or
like
somebody else, or or he would have gone into UPS himself and asked for scissors. Like, there are multiple ways that was going to play out. The person at the checkout, like, she would have been, like, she was more than capable of doing it. It wasn't that she needed Serena to do it. It was just Serena had the time and the capacity and the inclination, and she was able to therefore support these people by either supporting them and doing it themselves, which is kind of what happened with the cough drops thing, because the little notch was made for the guy to open it himself. Or in the other situation, she contributed. Like, she basically said, here, I can do this for you. Like, I don't mind that I'm doing it. I know you can do it yourself. Like, and obviously she didn't, she goes to her, I know you can do this for yourself, but I'm going to go do it. Like, none of that. Like, but that's what she in effect did. Like, it wasn't like she was looking at this person like, oh God, I have to do this for this person. It was just something she had the time and capacity to do. And then when she came here, and she was like, oh, I didn't get my coffee. I'm like, would you like a coffee? Now, this morning, Serena didn't know any of this before she got here. I actually have been ahead of the curve this morning. So I had a kind of similar situation actually with Serena, without Serena even knowing about it, which is that I happened to wake up early. I had my shower. I made my breakfast and everything. Now, we had some stuff that we needed to do work-wise before we were able to begin recording today. And I was like, you know what? It's early. I've got the time. Why don't I just do it? So I did it, not because Serena couldn't do it, not because I'm like going to be like, well, I've done this amount of work today, so you've got to do this. Like, none of that. I'm like, I can do it. It's no real like issue for me. I've got the time, I've got the capacity. Let's get it done. And then we can enjoy doing the thing that we do, which is this, when we are together. And then when Serena came in, I'm like, I'm actually ahead of the curve. Like, my laptop was already in position. The software was open. This never happens like before recording. I was literally ready to sit down and record. So I was like, do you want a coffee? Like, I have capacity. We've got time now. I can make you a coffee without any issue. And Serena was like, thank you. Yeah, that would be really great. And I'm like, it didn't cost me anything that my needs were already met. And I think that's what was happening with the two of us, is that this morning, Serena's needs, coffee accepted, like, obviously, were met this morning. Right. She had time. It wasn't like she was like exhausted and drained and what have you. It wasn't like she was running to catch up, or like she was rushing around.
Or frustrated. Oh my God, I had to help this person and I had to help this person. It was just.
It wasn't coming from that kind of martyr space of like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for them at my expense. Da, 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 da.
Or look at me. Look at how good of a person I am. Look at what I did this morning. Like, it was like, I don't have coffee and this is why. Yes. And one of the most beautiful things, like, I don't even know if you realized you said, you were like, I'm happy to make you coffee, and especially if it means that you're able to help two other people have a better day. And I'm like, look at the world working. Like,
right.
Look at this.
Look at how that works.
This ecosystem right here. Like, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about, you know, like the universal needs ecosystem.
We are
like,
part of a community.
Yeah.
And Serena is a part of the community. The cashiers are part of that community. The guys that, like, we're all part of that community. Now, we might be closer parts of that community. Like, yes, obviously I'm like closer to Serena. So my level of care for her is probably slightly higher than it is for the other people in the community, just because I have a relationship with her, and my level of care for the people I have a connection and a relationship with is naturally going to be a bit higher. But the key thing is we care about all the people in our community. It's about how do we, if it doesn't do us any harm and it doesn't negatively impact our needs, it supports us to also support the needs of others. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily because, and I think that a lot of people are in this kind of trading idea where it's like, oh, I do this thing for you, you do this thing for me. And that's the reason I do stuff, is so that I will get stuff back in return. Like, generally speaking, like we're in this space of like, I'm going to do this nice thing for this. Like, it's a little bit like letting somebody out in traffic. Like, I always have this thing where I'm happy to let somebody out in traffic if it doesn't do me any like harm. I mean, obviously there's rights of way, there's like rules of the road as well. But like even if it's not like even if it's my right of way, I will often let people out. And there's this thought of mine, and I can't remember where this comes from. I think it was something that did the rounds many years ago, which is that thought of like, if I let one person out in traffic, then maybe they might be more inclined to let somebody else out in traffic, which means that they might be more inclined to let somebody else out in traffic. So it's like it creates this kind of wave of like of kind of good faith, on that wave of support that kind of goes, now we don't know what that guy's going to do with the rest of his day, but the chances are he's going to be more inclined and be more resourced, because his needs are better met, to actually support other people with their needs. Same is probably true of that cashier. Now, I'm not saying they have to do that, but it's more likely, like, our community as a whole gets better every time somebody does something to support somebody else.
It's like the pay it forward coffees. There's been many times where I've been in the coffee line. They're like, oh, they paid for it. And I don't know that I've ever stopped the pay it forward line. Like it's usually something, if somebody's paid it forward, then I'm like, okay, let me pay for theirs, and it kind of goes
like a ripple
effect. And there are some times where you can't afford to do the pay it forward. There are sometimes you're not inclined to do it, but it's that, like, when you get that pay it forward coffee, you're like, oh, like, that's really nice. And it gives you a little bit more kind of faith in humanity, and it's like people are thinking of other people, and even if you can't pay it forward, then it puts it in my head, like, this is like, that felt good. Right. And when I have the capacity, when I have the resources, I want to do something that makes some random person in their morning feel good. And maybe I'll start the pay it forward line, or just randomly do something. But it, like, being around those situations, practicing giving when it doesn't compromise you. Like,
well, and I think that one of the things I want to say, like, you said giving, and I feel like a lot of people think of it as like give and take without really thinking about it. Like, we are part of a community. We are all responsible for the health and well-being of the community dynamic. Like, it's not just giving. It's actually like we benefit. And there's two ways in which we benefit. The first thing is, I just realized I cut you off. Is there anything you want to finish up with before I carry on? No. Okay, just checking. There's the how are we supporting the community, and the community. If you go back and listen to the universal needs ecosystem episode, I don't remember what episode number it is. It'll be in the show notes underneath this. But if you go back and listen to that, like, by us supporting the community is actually going to make sure, it's going to mean that the community is able to better support everybody, including us. But also there's a second part of it, which is that because of the interconnectedness of people, like we often talk about interconnectedness in terms of harm. Like if you harm somebody else because of the interconnectedness, your needs will be negatively impacted. But remember, self-worth is not just about meeting your needs in ways that don't negatively impact others. It's also in ways that sometimes benefit others. Did I say negatively impact and benefit? I think I did. I had that moment. It's not self-first is meeting your needs at minimum in ways that don't negatively impact others, and sometimes in ways that benefit others. Yeah. I wasn't sure if I said it right the first time, so I'm checking myself.
I'm trying to think. I'm like, I heard all those words. Right? What order?
Now, the reason also that sometimes ways that benefit other people is because that interconnectedness works in the other direction as well, which means that if you benefit somebody else's needs because of that shared connection, because of our humanity, if we are connected to somebody else and their humanity and we support them, we get a boost from it as well. Like it supports us to do that. It supports our needs better because by doing that, we connect more with our humanity, which supports our value need. And therefore so it's like, I don't want to make do this thing because it will benefit you. Because obviously part of the thing is like, it's really nice to support other people. And there's a benefit to us of doing it as well in two very different ways. Mm-hmm. And I just think that so often we're so in our own world. And I get like life is tough. We struggle. We have challenges. And we're not negating any of that. We're not taking that away. But I think that once we are understanding better how to meet our needs, once we know how to support ourselves better, being in that space of recognizing that I have the capacity to support somebody else. And maybe it is someone I know, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a stranger. That supports us to do as well. It works in the other direction. And I remember like when we were talking about this before, you came up with another example and I can't remember what the other example was.
This is one of the first places that I really kind of, I don't know, like realized how good this feels from like a human perspective. But Claire and I, when we get sandwiches from the local grocery store here.
I remember the example.
We usually get the vegan. Well, now we get the vegan or meat-free sandwiches. Mm-hmm. Now, most of these use some sort of vegan meat product, substitute product, which if you don't eat vegan food, you have no clue what it is usually.
Where it's located.
Where it is. Half the time we don't know where it's located because it's so obscure. They move it around. They're like, they'll never miss this. We're going to stick it in a corner. So we get these subs and oftentimes there is...
Almost every time we go for this, they don't have the ingredients.
At least one component.
Yeah. Because I don't think not as many people order these sandwiches as the regular ones.
Right.
So
they run out. They're like, oh, we'll restock it later. And then that never happens.
Right.
Life happens.
Yeah.
So there's only been one time that the person wouldn't let me do this. But you see them start pulling out the stuff and then you see the look of like, oh shit. Like there's something missing. I'm like, what are you missing? And so they're like, oh, I don't have the meat. I don't have the cheese. I don't have the dressing. I don't have this, that. And I'm like, let me go get all the things for you. What do you need? And so like they tell me and I run and get it because I'm on the other side of the counter. It serves me to get these things quicker because I know exactly where they are. Like, here's the meat, here's the cheese, here's the avocado, here are all the things I need. So it's benefiting me because I'm going to get my sandwich quicker. And I don't why am I going to send them on a wild goose chase?
There's no downside.
Yeah.
Like there really is no downside to that situation. I know where it is. I have the time and capacity. I'm better located for it. And it means that you can be getting on with whatever else is that you need to do. Like, there's no downside to that. Because I've got to stand here and wait for you to go and find it, try and figure out where it is, and then get back. Like, there's no downside to that.
No, not at all.
And we do it all the time. And it's amazing how shocked the people who work there are
and the
when
people
we offer.
Well, and the people around us even more. They're like...
What?
They're the ones that are supposed to make your sandwiches for you. Like, that's the energy that you get. They're like, why would you go running around the store? Because it makes sense. Like, why would it, that's like, it feels like there's so many things that it's like, that didn't,
it doesn't cost us
Why wouldn't
anything.
I?
Right. And it's different. If Serena's ankle's having a flare up and
Yes.
she can't walk properly, that's a different situation.
Right.
But
And there's sometimes that I just like, I don't like this situation has never arisen, so it's hard for me to say like, but if I'm not in the mood, like, yeah, okay, like,
or like I'm trying to respond to a text message because there's something going on in my personal life or at work. Like that's different because we don't have the capacity.
Right.
We don't have the time. There's other things that we need to be focused on at that point in time. But as you say, like, I mean, that's never happened. Like literally every time we go, it's like, what do you need? Okay, I'll go get it for you. And it's like, I'll get it for you. Like, I'm not doing this just because it makes my life easier. Like, why wouldn't I help out another human being?
I used to be a sandwich maker back in the
Right.
day. Like, I would have loved it if I was out of cheese and someone's like, can I get the cheese for you? Yeah, because I'm working hard right now, like
Thank
doing
you
an
so
extra
much.
little run.
Yeah.
Like, and they may
There's
not
a
even
line of people waiting for their
Right.
sandwiches. so-
Exactly. You're looking at
Yeah.
10 people down the line being like, they're going to see me run from out behind the counter. And then all these people are
They're
going to be like, what the
frustrated.
fuck? Like,
Yeah.
right there. And I know I'm making it sound like it's so simple and so matter of factly, like, why wouldn't you do it? And we do realize, like Claire said, there's circumstances, there's situations, but
And
when
you
you're
got kids or whatever, like there's so many reasons, and it's like this is not to criticize or shame people who do
No,
not
not
do
at all.
this. This is just saying, like, recognize how much it supports everybody, the community, the person involved, yourself. If it doesn't cost you anything and you have the capacity and you have the resources, like sometimes it might cost you a little bit of time. Like I said in a previous episode, we had somebody who was going through a hard time. They weren't somebody who we knew well. They weren't somebody who was a close friend. They're like, hey, can I come and get a mum hug from you? And like just talk out what's going on. Yeah, I'm sitting on my couch right now. It's a bit of my time. It means that I'm not going to watch. I'm going to watch one shitty episode of whatever the crappy reality show is I'm watching, rather than 3 episodes. That is a good use of my time, as far as I'm concerned. I would far rather use it supporting you than watching whatever the hell it is I'm watching at this point in time. And I think that so often, like, we forget about that, or we think that. Like, remember, like, go back to the self-first definition. Like, remember, this is not about being selfless. This is not about sacrificing ourselves for other people, because as we know, that's not actually generally about sacrificing ourselves. It's about actually meeting other needs of ours. It's about secret, hidden, unmet needs that we're not sure that are actually pulling the strings. We're trying to get some needs met by sacrificing other needs. So this is not about being selfless. This is about being self first. It's about when you are, and this is the thing, is that the more that you take care of your needs, the more you support yourself in your needs, the more frequently you'll find yourself in the position where you have the capacity to be able to do this. We are very busy people. We have a lot going on a lot of the time. So yeah, a lot of the time we don't have the time because we've got 3 million things scheduled and we're trying to knit between them or what have you. But capacity wise, we often have capacity. And we'll often have, like, maybe my capacity is at 70% rather than 100%. But okay, I can take 20% to help you, and then I can go rebuild my capacity so I'm back up to 70% again. Like, I'm good with that. And I think that that's the thing, is that, like, by taking care of your needs, you find yourself in these positions more often. But when you find yourself in these positions, it's often like an unlearning of, like, oh, I know, I don't do anything for strangers, or like, I don't want to. And obviously safety first. And we're not saying to put yourself in an unsafe situation. Like, these were both situations where Serena felt safe and comfortable and more than happy to do these things. But when you're in that position, this is how it works, is that by supporting our community, by contributing to our community, by being an active part of the community, we actually support the community that ends up supporting us. I mean, I cannot count the amount of times that we have been asked to help with various things. And if we have time or capacity, the answer is almost always yes. Because we want to support the community. And how much support have we had from the community over the years in different moments, in different times? Like, that is what makes a community.
I'm a short girl. So at the grocery store, when I'm climbing the shelves trying to get the last...
Which she does a lot.
I got to meet my own needs. Like if somebody wants to help me, that's great. But if there's no, like I'm not
see,
damsel in distress.
See the grocery store employees like, no, health and safety, stop.
They do not love me when I do that. I'm like, okay. Well, and sometimes they're like, ma'am, you can't climb the shelves. And I'm like, okay, I need that box. And they're like, but you can't climb the shelves.
Can you pass me
the box? Like, okay, I'll stack cans and make a little ladder. Like, I'm going to get my box. And there have been times where I've seen somebody in a similar position who wasn't able to climb the shelves, and I've climbed the shelves for them to get said box. And it's one of those things, like, as Claire's been speaking, like, if you get that inkling, like, oh, I could help. Ooh, I should help. Ooh, I want to help. And it doesn't compromise, and you're able to do a quick, like...
I'm going to jump in.
Okay.
I can help. I want to help. I get to help. The second you notice yourself saying, I should help, that's different. Because normally should is there's this feeling of duty and obligation that might end like chances are if you're feeling should, then that might be like, I don't have the capacity right now, but that would be the good person thing to do. Like there's slight distinction there.
Yeah. The should is the check in with your capacity.
Yes. Check in. Like where am I actually at? Like, do I feel there's a social obligation to do this right now? Or do I feel like it would make me a good person to do this? And I want to be
need pulling.
I want to see myself as a good person. That's part of my value need. I'm trying to meet my needs through doing this. That's where that selfless thing comes in.
Good point.
And that's just a little bit about the should. Carry on with what you were saying about if you get that inkling about I want to or like I would like to, I've got the capacity to, then
that's when you check in and you're like, okay, does it compromise me? No. Will it compromise them? No. Will it meet my needs? Maybe. Will it, give them a boost? Yeah, actually that will help because they can't get the bread off the top shelf. So like those are the instances that I'm acting on now.
Right.
Those are the times that I'm like.
And in that situation, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm guessing that you probably be like, would you like me to get that for you? Yeah. Because some people don't want that help, which is fine as well. Like it's not like I'm going to force that help onto you so I can feel like a good person. Like that's not what we're talking about here.
And there's sometimes where somebody offers, they see me struggle and I'm like, no, I'm good because for whatever reason, I'm good. Maybe it's I'm having my own things and it's like, I want to do this for myself, whatever it is. Or I'm like, I don't want anybody, whatever the reason is.
Right.
So it's always like consent is for everything.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
When you are doing something that is enacting on another person, like even help, like ask first.
Well, and the thing about it is, I mean, as somebody who is a tall person, generally speaking, but also has very long arms. In fact, it was an in joke with a friend group many years ago. If they needed something off a shelf, they would be like, Claire, go gadget arms, and I'd be like, whoops, to get them off the shelf. So I'm used to like being asked for those sorts of things.
I had to marry tall,
right? And she did, she did. In those situations, I will offer to help. Like another really simple example of this, if I see somebody on vacation, like trying to take a selfie and it's only two of them, like, would you like me to take a photo? Half the time, the answer is no, because they want the selfie or the ussy, as Serena's husband would say.
He loves to. Do you want to take an ussy? You mean a selfie? No, it's an ussy because it's of us.
Two of us. So, yeah. And a lot of time that's what they want. They want the selfie style photo because that's what they put on their Facebook or their Insta or what have you. But there are times when I can't tell you, as someone who has traveled the world alone, how often I had wished somebody, and I've no issue with asking someone to take a photo for me, which I will do. It would have been so nice on so many occasions, and it is so nice when someone was like, would you like me to take your photo? And I'm like, yes, I would love that. Thank you so much. It's a simple thing. It doesn't take hard, and it's funny. This is what I mean about this ripple effect thing. Is that not only does it have a ripple effect on the person you're doing it for, it has a ripple effect on the whole community. So when people see you do this, it acts as a prompt. Oh, I could do that. Like that's something I could do. In fact, it was funny. Like I remember my mum told me that she'd been on, they had a little vacation weekend away with a couple of really good friends of theirs, like my mum and dad, and they'd gone to this place. And my mum came back and she was like, oh, she's like, I thought about you. And I was like, oh yeah. And she was like, yeah, we were in this restaurant and there was a group next to us who were trying to take a photo. And she was like, I went and offered to take the photo for them. because she's seen me do that dozens and dozens and dozens of times. It doesn't like it's 30 seconds out of my life. I am more than happy to help you do that. And the cool thing is that I didn't do it for my mum, but my mum saw me doing it for other people, and it got her thinking, oh, I could offer to do that for other people. That's what I mean about the community is that this ripple effect, once we have the time and capacity, we are able to start behaving in ways that actually starts to shift the community to being now. And obviously we need to be we have to be intentional about, yes, there is systemic change that is required, and that requires a little bit more directed and intentional effort. I'm not saying that this is the answer. If we just do good deeds, it's going to help. But if we contribute to others in the community, it actually helps because other people start to see it and they act on it as well. And all of a sudden, there's this little bit more support that is this is ripple effect of like, oh, someone's done this nice thing for me. Oh, I saw how, like, there's a possibility there's somebody behind us in the queue at the grocery store who sees us do this, who the next time they're in the queue and the person's like, oh, I've run out of so and so, I'll go get it for you. They wouldn't have even thought to have done it before they saw us do it. And this is why, like, not only does it support the needs of the people that you are in the situation. Now, difference, you're not meeting them for them, as in like, you can't do this for yourself. I'm going to come in and do it for you because I have to do it. I'm supporting them with their needs. And also what you're doing is you're actually creating an environment where more people are likely to do this for more people.
I find that all the time down here. I used to be a concierge on the island, and it's something that never kind of left my system. I still love concierging. I just don't do it professionally.
We both do. Like, the amount of times it's like, yes, the food in there's amazing. Go, yeah. Like, if someone's debating the menu outside or
debating the menu, or if we hear a conversation, and we're not talking about like butting into somebody's conversation or anything, but like there are times, if you've never been down here, it's a area all its own. The way that the interworkings of people and tourism, it all works, it's a little different. So I can see this not necessarily translating to every location.
Yes.
However, down here, there is an energy where there is kind of a community. Like the second you cross over the bridge, you're part of this community, even if you're only here for an evening.
Right. Yeah.
So we'll hear people discussing like, oh, I really want key lime pie. Do you know where to get key lime pie? And they're talking amongst themselves, and I'll bet him like, do you want some suggestions?
Like, we're locals. We're happy to offer you some ideas on where you could get key lime pie if that would be helpful.
Right. And sometimes they're like, no. Sometimes it's attitude, and sometimes they just, are you talking to me? And 90% of the time, oh my God, yes.
Thank you so much.
And of course, we're not like, oh, just go here. We're like, well, what do you want? Do you like it tart? Do you like it creamy? Do you want pomp and circumstance? Like,
yes.
I mean, just the key lime pie. Like, ask me about coffee.
Lots of options. Yeah.
I'll give you menus. But like, that takes seconds of my time. However, that happened to me when I started visiting here. And that's why I came back. That's why I became a concierge, because I wanted people to feel that feeling that I felt of like, people here want me to enjoy my time on this island.
Right.
Which then helps our larger community from like the tourism standpoint. But they got good, or hopefully they got an experience, whatever they got.
Right.
And I'm able to be like, I'm able to help. Like,
right.
And it's
information we have, and we have no qualms about sharing. Like
I could walk by and like think to myself, well, I know where to get key lime pie.
Right.
Like, why not just
share that and offer that? Well, and like it happens like for me, like, I mean, I was about to say, I spend a lot of time in bars. I do. I don't actually spend a lot of time drinking, but like I am currently dating somebody who is a musician. So I often will end up in bars because that's where they're playing, and I'll go and like watch them play. Frequently when I'm sat at the bar, inevitably I'm going to end up probably chatting to somebody at some point. Some days I'm not. Sometimes I'm on my phone. I'm like, I don't really want to interact with anyone today. Just want to listen to some good music, be in my own space. A lot of the time I will end up talking and chatting to the people who are sat around me. And when I'm talking and chatting to the people who are sat around me, one of the first questions I always ask, are you locals or are you visiting? People say they're visiting. Oh, how long are you here for? they're here for another 4 days. Like, do you want any advice? Like, is there anything you're looking forward to do while you're down? Like, I'm a local. I know a lot about this island community. Like, and a lot of the time it's like, oh my God, we're like foodies. We'd like some really great food. And I'm like, right, try here. Like, do you want, like, are you wanting meat? Are you wanting fish? Are you wanting vegetarian food? Like, okay, you want fish? Here are the places to go. And like, even though I don't eat fish, like,
well, and there's sometimes Claire texts me and she's like, best fish place.
Right,
like,
exactly. Or like, best place to get a steak or a burger or what have you. Like, I mean, like,
and it makes me happy when she texts. Yes. And I can't always get back to her. Sometimes I don't, and like the time.
And I'll always
passed.
say, my best friend used to be a concierge on the island. I'll message her, and if she's free, she'll let me know, and I can give you the information. But frequently that happens, and people. I mean, I've been places. I mean, a lot of the times when I go to like one of the places, like for example, that I go. The band will be playing there all week. So I might be there a couple of times during the week. And a lot of the times when people find a band they like and a bar they like, they will come back multiple times. The amount of times that I've been there like, oh my God, we went to so-and-so. It was so good. Thank you. So we would never have found it if we hadn't spoken to you. And it's like, yay. Like I'm sat at the bar. I can have a chat about what's going on and like places to go. It doesn't cost me anything. But if that's made your trip a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit better, I am totally on board with that. And I feel good about it, and it like everybody benefits in that situation. And especially like with an island community like ours, we also have like a mindful thought about, okay, which are the local businesses, which are the independent businesses, where do we like, what are the community, like how do we want to support this community, like excuse me.
Yeah, people come down to this island, they want a cheeseburger in paradise. You're never going to hear me recommend that because
a chain. They're not going to recommend a chain restaurant. You're going to be like, oh, go to this place because they take their meat from the local butcher, which means, or whatever it is. Like, and
it supports the community
exactly.
An entirely different level. Like there can be layers to the support. That one act of non-compromising kindness can like, and that's the thing. It's just I'm trying, like I want to kind of like bottle the feeling into a word, and I can't because it is so layered. It's like I don't know. Like, are you in my head? Because I'd like
fulfillment. It's fulfillment because it meets your needs, and when you meet your needs, you get a feeling of fulfillment. And there is a layer to it when you are part of a community that is supporting each other. And as I said, like, it's not like dependence. It's not, oh God, let me do this for you because you can't do it for yourself. It is like, I mean, like Serena and I is a great example of that. Like we are our own little community, like the relationship that we have and how we support each other means that support comes back to us. And also, like, I want her to be in a good space because I care about her. Like, if you care about the community, you want the community to do well. You want the local businesses to do well. You want to, like, and when we do that, like, not only are we fulfilled, but we actually get to be part of this community. And so we've said it once, we've said it a million times, I'm sure, that we are social creatures. We thrive in connection. We thrive in community. We want to meet our own base level needs. And once we're at that point where our base level needs are in the process of being met, at that point, we may have the time and capacity to contribute more to the community. And by contributing to the community, we create more of a community that actually supports us. And it's this beautiful symbiotic relationship whereby we get this fulfillment, not just then from an individual level of like, okay, my needs are met, but actually also I'm in this beautiful kind of symbiotic relationship with the ecosystem around me, which is this local community. There's like Serena's like the tree stood next to me in the forest, but there's like a little like
we're holding branches.
Right, exactly. Like, but there's like a little collection of trees, like that are our kind of close people. But then we're part of a wider woodland, which is part of a bigger forest. Like all of those things, the more we can support ourselves and the more we then can contribute, the better it is for everybody involved. Mm-hmm. So, anything you want to finish with before we?
I think before there's any more rabbit holes to go down. Well,
that's the thing with the forest. You do find a lot of rabbit holes, especially when we're in the forest with you. Look at this one. Whee! So
Watch out, Alice.
on that note, we will say thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And remember to come back next time. We've got some interesting episodes on the horizon, and the shapes are coming, I promise. So watch your space. But between now and then, remember to take care of yourself, stay safe, and between now and next time, to continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye, friends.
That's it for today.
If you like what you heard,
I would like to see some of Serena's awesome facial expressions.
check out the video podcast on YouTube.
And remember, when you have the time and capacity, it feels really good to support the needs of others, and you end up getting a little boost too.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.